Hello friends, welcome to Timing, Scorekeeping and Goal Refereeing. As usual, we're starting off with a quiz, so please head to Socrative, the link's in the description. Finish that and then come back and I'll start talking in a couple of minutes. Well, I mean, start talking properly. That is... La-di-da-di-da. Someone suggested I should make my own theme music. I think that would be quite amusing. I'm not sure anyone would listen to it, but I mean, you're here listening to me now. We have a couple of people online. This is great. Alright. Hey. Hey, indeed. Alright. Go to Socrative, do the quiz. I'll be back in a minute. But quiz times are the funnest of times, Dan. So that's perfectly an acceptable thing to be writing, you see. Oh, thanks, Helen. I think I have pretty singing also. Alright, welcome. If you haven't been to one of these before, special welcome to you. If you're from overseas, special welcome to you. If you're at home and like I have nothing better to do with my Thursday night and I thought I'd just do this anyway, welcome to you. If you're here because someone made you, welcome to you. If you're here for any other reason, also welcome. So how these work are there will be 3 quizzes throughout the session. And you have to hit all 3, so you've got to be here for all 3 checkpoints to get the attendance point, if that's what you're here for. If you make 2 of them, they'll give you a half, and if you are listening to this offline, or not live, see the description for information on what you have to do. This one, you've got to do the quizzes, and there may be a homework assignment involving the score sheet that you'll have to email on, and then we'll give you your point. So do the quiz, come back. If you are watching on a mobile phone, there's a good chance that you can only do one thing at a time. So that's why I said you've got some time, go do the quiz, come back. I'm not going to start actually talking for a couple of minutes. If you're joining us late, I'd probably jump up to live just so you can keep track. There is a live chat if you're on desktop or a device that can do chat and watch the video at the same time. So jump in there. I will be answering questions, but I think there's about a 30-second delay in what comes up on the chat and when you'll hear me talk about it, which is fine. We'll get there eventually. And I generally don't have the chat open while I'm actually speaking because it's distracting and things pop up and I can only focus on one thing at a time. Failing all that, you're welcome to send me a message on Facebook if you can't message me on the live chat and have a question you want to ask. You're more than welcome to message me a question anytime anyway. I think there's one I haven't responded to and I will get back to it. But yeah, questions are good. Questions show you're engaged, questions show you're thinking, and that's what these quizzes are for the start. So I'm going to shut up for another minute and give you a chance to finish off the quiz. If you do get it wrong, it's fine. It's really not a big deal. I'm not grading you on it. It's just to start you off thinking about these sorts of things and to realise that actually timing and scorekeeping are kind of difficult roles, and goal refereeing, if you get it wrong, can also really be bad. So that's also important. But yeah, so go to Socrative, do the quiz, and I'll start talking in another minute or so. Okay. There's so many of you, I love it. Thank you so much for coming. Not that, again, I'm sort of making you be here, but hey, you didn't have to be, I guess. So, always exciting. On the off chance that there are more than 50 people trying to get in at one time, and if you're getting a message telling you can't get in, hopefully that's not happening. But if you have finished the quiz, get out and just come back to YouTube if you have finished it. And you'll know it's finished because it'll come up something like waiting for the next activity to start. But yeah. Pro tips, obviously, if you get the references in the score sheet, 2 of my favourite novels, or novel series rather, given the range of characters I've chosen. Pro tip for Natalie, don't talk into Natalie's water bottle. We're up to 38 people watching, it's always very exciting. So finish the quiz and pop back, I'll get back to you eventually. Okay, so it appears you can't see the picture if you're on phone. Apologies for that. We'll go over the score sheets later, and you can have a go when we get to the end. Alrighty. Cool. Again, welcome. If this is your first time tuning in. If it's your third time tuning in, I suppose you get an extra welcome. If it's your second time, thank you for coming back. Again, if you got the notification and were like, why not? And thought you'd come listen to me chat for some amount of time, also welcome to you. Welcome to everybody. If you're here because, I don't know, YouTube told you there was a live stream going on and you're like, Quidditch, what is that? Well, you should stick around, maybe not on this video, to learn about, we should stick around on the channel, learn more about Quidditch. But unfortunately, if you don't know how Quidditch works, there is an excellent chance that you're not going to follow this video very well. Alright. Okay, let me see how we're doing on the quiz and then we can get started. Alright, it's a couple of you still going on that. Most of you getting the score right, those of you that are doing it, which is good. Awesome. Alright. Okay, I'll give you another minute and then feel free to finish the quiz. If you can't finish the quiz because you've got to come back to the video, actually you're not going to know that because you can't be doing 2 things at once, so we'll deal with that problem later. If you have to drop out at any point in time or if your internet crashes or whatever, shoot me a message and I'll probably give the attendance point if you have a good reason, i.e. one of those things. Oh, is it actually that blurry or is that just, nope, that's just my video, never mind. Alright, 9:10, let's get going. Okay. So, first things first, hi, this is me, I'm Nat, I play for Serpents. This is the same slide I've had every time, but if you, again, don't know who I am, this is what I look like. You're hearing my voice, obviously. Yeah. Hi. I'm Drop Bear, I play for New South Wales, and I'm on the gameplay committee for QA this year, which is sort of the authority under which I'm doing this, but also people seem to think I know things. Alright, last week's results. We had a really strong week for Fireballs, Paladins, sorry, and Unspeakables, which is great. A couple of teams showed up for the first time last week, which is also fantastic. And thank you all for being here again, even though you don't really have a choice. Which overall puts us here for the last 2 weeks. I think there might be a handful of offline ones I haven't included in this yet, but Fireballs are winning. There's a bunch of teams that have already met their requirements, assuming that enough people did it, which they must have, I think. So I can't remember what the rules I set were. I think it's you've got to hit 7 across 4 different people, maybe. I'll confirm that at some point and put it in the description. To meet your ref requirements for Quaffle, because we will actually be enforcing it. So even though that's greatly inconveniences us having to redo the schedule, you're not playing if you haven't met all of your requirements, and that includes the ref requirements. So actually do them. That'd be really useful and in your favour. Okay, side note, if you're in Australia and you can vote, make sure you return your form. Yes, I'm just going to remind people to do that because there's a good chance maybe you haven't yet. Because Quidditch kids, right? Okay, so today we are talking about goal refereeing, timekeeping, including things like managing timeouts, managing the penalty box, managing the Snitch and Seeker release, Snitch Handicaps. We're also talking about procedure for overtime, because the more people that know that, usually the better, and scorekeeping. Yeah, that's about all I have to say about that. Alright, first things first. So, goal refereeing. Goal refereeing is one of the easier jobs, but at the same time it's really easy to get wrong. If there is a reason that you know you shouldn't be goal refereeing, for example, you've got terrible depth perception, make sure the person who's assigning refs in your team knows that and speak up about it, because there's nothing worse than you doing a job that you know you can't do. Pretty straightforward what you have to do, right? Indicate a goal, or if it's a no goal, right? And I'll show you what the hand signals for that are in a second. Fix up the hoop when play moves away from the vicinity. Retrieve a dead quaffle. So a dead quaffle is only ever dead once it's been passed through a hoop, and therefore a goal has been scored. So if that's the case, wait for the referee's whistle. That's really important, because sometimes, even though you see it go through the goal and you indicate goal, the head referee might overturn you, and if you've gone to retrieve that quaffle, you just interfered with play. So make sure you wait to hear a head referee's whistle, then you can go get the quaffle and give it to the keeper. You really don't have to worry too much about quick replay things that other referees do, because if a quaffle's near you behind the hoops, that's not really on the table. So generally, once you hear the whistle, you can go get the quaffle. You also have the best view of when a quaffle passes over the hard boundary. So once that happens, do whatever you can to make sure the head referee knows that the quaffle has passed over the hard boundary. So hopefully you'll be playing on a lined pitch, and that makes it even more obvious. But once that ball rolls over the line, make sure you're screaming that has happened. And if requested, tell the referee, head the referee, who it was that touched it last. Though you should usually have a pretty good idea of that. If the quaffle rolls really far away, you can go get it. Like really far away off pitch, feel free to go get it. Generally, because most situations the head referee will stop play for that as well. Try and keep score, so just count how many goals happen at your end, just because that's a really useful check. Head referees are meant to keep score in their own head, or as we were talking about last week, by marking on their arm or by carrying a notebook. I always forget, and I've been caught out a couple of times with things happening where I've forgotten to keep score and it's actually massive. So everyone does forget. try not to, but at the same time, if you're goal refereeing, just count the number of goals at your end, just for an extra like check in there. It's always a good thing. If you're competent, so if you're a beater, or if you've been around enough, or if you know what your beating rules are, feel free to call beats. That's fine. There's nothing that says you can't, but that's really up to you, up to your captain or your ref assigning person in your team, and the head referee. So if the head referee tells you, nah, I don't want you, I just want you watching for the goal, don't, that's fine. If the head referee goes, nope, you're good, you feel free to call beats, feel free to call beats. Me personally, I'm fine with that, again, as long as you know what you're doing. So there's nothing worse than someone calling beats when they don't know how beating works, because generally they get it wrong. But again, make sure you check with your head referee. And on that same point, you have a different view to everyone else on the field, in terms of every other referee on the field. Particularly stuff behind hoops, you might have a good view on. So if the head referee wants your opinion, feel free to give it. Right? So if you say, oh, I saw from this angle and that bludger clearly missed, feel free to say that, right? Because the head referee doesn't have the same view that you do, and that might be really important. However, that said, make sure that your primary focus is on the quaffle at all times. Okay, so you need to know where the quaffle is, you need to know where it's going near the hoops, and you need to be indicating a goal or no goal for every ball that goes near those hoops. So sometimes it's really hard to see from the middle of the pitch, although a head referee shouldn't be at the middle of the pitch if the quaffle's at the hoops, where the ball's actually gone. So even if it's clearly gone over, please indicate no goal for us to make it really obvious. Indicate straight away and indicate decisively. So if you are wrong, or if the head referee thinks you're wrong and all the AR thinks you're wrong, we'll overrule you, and that's fine, right? Don't take it personally, because you have a different view to us, and sometimes you have a better view, and sometimes the head referee has a better view, which is fine. That happens. So generally if I disagree with my goal ref, I'm going to stop play and check and hope that another AR has seen. Not every head ref will do that, they'll just overrule you straight away, particularly on beats. So because you're watching the quaffle and you're not watching what the bludgers are doing, there's a good chance you may miss if there was a beat before. So again, don't take it personally, the head ref will overrule you, move on, and keep going. Cool, so just as an assistant referee should be calling every throw of a bludger, every time the quaffle passes the hoops, please indicate something. Alrighty, so where you want to stand is usually just on the end of this edge of the soft boundary, on this little like pointy thing here. If play comes near you, please get out of the way. But that said, if you need to be closer or further away, feel free to move. Same goes for everybody else. If you can't be running, you really shouldn't be reffing. Please don't sit down or have a chair or anything there either, because that's dangerous. Same goes for a water bottle. You can have one near you, I guess, but please have it outside of the hard boundary so that it's not a danger to the players or yourself if you're running backwards to get out of the way and accidentally trip over it, which I've never seen happen, but may. So don't have anything in the hard boundary, please. If I forget to mention it later, same goes for the scoreboard. Please have the scoreboard outside of the boundary. Okay, so here's L. L's going to indicate a goal for us with great enthusiasm. Straight up, straight away. Lovely. That's a goal. Cool. If there's a no goal, sweep your arms in front of you, nice and low, make it really clear that it's not a goal. Now, some head referees like to have you indicate if the ball went through the hoop regardless. So if that happens, they want to see nice arms up to indicate the ball went through. However, a nice big shake of the head to indicate actually they were beat, there's a reason it shouldn't be a goal, it's a no goal. Okay, me personally, I prefer you just indicate no goal, but that's a head ref thing. I know Logan likes the head shake, so check with your head ref before the match. They should inform you what they would like, but make sure you ask the question in your pre-game chat if they haven't addressed that yet. So yeah, shake of the head. The disappointment here on L's face is quite real, I think. Okay, please, 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 do not cover your eyes or do nothing, okay? Again, I don't care if you get it wrong or if I, as a head ref, disagree with you, but please just pick goal or no goal, alright? If you indicate no goal, if you indicate I didn't see, just don't, because it looks really bad on you, because that's literally your job, and also you're in danger of being attacked by a shark. Possible contender for my new favourite video. Although Luke beating himself in the head is probably still going to win. Okay, so please indicate goal or no goal. Again, pick one. If you're wrong, it really doesn't matter, because I'll chop to check if I disagree. And if everyone else disagrees anyway, it's not a big deal. Okay. Alrighty. I'm going to check into the group chat for a second. We have not many questions. Blah 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 blah. Cool. Alright. Nothing major in here. Yeah, if your quiz does crash while you're doing it, that's not a big deal. Just do what you can as you go. Speaking of, I'm going to close that now, so if you haven't done it yet, too late. To launch. Alrighty. People are requesting videos. Watch the original videos, and then you can see these marvelous videos. I don't know, I may gift them later. It's very exciting. Cool. Alrighty. Oh, nope, that's not the button I want. Cool beans. Oh, no, what did I do? Ah. Oh, that's fine. Oh, I missed a thing. Okay, yeah. So, this is my backyard and our hoop. I think we made a really great hoop. So, also part of your job is to fix up the hoops once play has moved out of your general vicinity. So, try and do that quick as you can, then get back out of the way so that you can indicate if there's a goal. That was actually perfect timing. Go team. Awesome. Yeah, same deal. Harry made a good point in the chat just now. Hold your hands up until you hear a whistle, or indicate no goal until you hear the referee confirm it's a goal or a no goal. Referees should be calling goal or no. I'm trying to get them not to say no goal because people might just hear the goal. So indicate one of them until the referee acknowledges your existence by some manner. Yeah. And then fix up the hoops after play moves on. So wait till people have moved away, basically, then you can come back in. That includes things like rotating the hoop just so it's spun back around to the right direction. And if all three get knocked down, the head referee will have to stop play, because that's one of the rules. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. Cool. Alrighty. Any other questions on goal reffing? Please don't attack each other in the chat. That's not very nice, friends. But, I mean, I don't know if you can tell the humour in my voice. There's things, words, stuff. I don't know why I made this so late. I'm tired. I don't know if you can tell. Again, I'm just filling 30 seconds of space here to wait if the questions catch up. But again, goal reffing's pretty straightforward. So, blup, 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 blup. Alright, I'm going to move on. Kill beans. Alrighty. Scoring and timekeeping. Please note, these are different roles. Okay? You cannot have one person do all things at once. Yeah, just don't. Don't make them do that. Right? Have people to help. Allocate. If you're the person that allocates roles in your team, actually backtracking. Quaffle haven't decided. I don't think we've decided yet if we're allocating every person a role or if it's teams. I imagine it's by person. Scoring and timekeeping should be the same. So there'll be people allocated to each specific role. So generally you need at least 3 people, I would say. You need one person to be scoring with the actual score sheet. You need one person to be updating the visible scoreboard. You need at least one person timing. 2 is better because then you can check in with each other. And you definitely need at least 2 devices, I would say now, particularly for timeouts. So it's easy enough to keep track of penalty time if you remember the time of the penalty, which you don't have to because the scorekeeper will be writing it down on the score sheet. But having a second device to record timeout time, because that's a whole minute, is really useful. So you will have at least one stopwatch at each field, supplied by QA at Quaffle, and it's always a good idea to have a backup. Cool. Alrighty. So timekeeping. There's a lot of things a timekeeper has to actually do. So they've got to use the stopwatch to time. Again, words, tired. They need to stop time when the referee blows their whistle in paired blasts. Where'd my whistle go? So I'm not actually going to blow my whistle into the my laptop, but paired blast sounds like this. And if anyone blows their whistle like that on the field, I'm going to fire you. Or beat you in the face a couple of times. Because you should be blowing a whistle with force and gusto. But again, this is about timekeeping. So when you hear that sort of whistle, you need to stop the time from the first whistle. Same goes if the snitch referee blows their whistle. So time will stop from the first time the snitch referee blows their whistle in that manner. Then restart time when the referee starts play. So every time that we talk about from the rest of this seminar is game time. So game time is the time the game has actually been in play for, funnily enough, not time as normally passes on Earth. Okay, so if your game starts at 12 o'clock and goes for an hour, you might only have 20 minutes of actual game time in there if there was a particularly prolonged stoppage. Okay, so game time is the important time. Anytime anyone asks you what is the time, they're usually referring to game time. Okay, timekeepers, you also have to control the penalty box. You manage the snitch and the seekers. And you need to let the scorekeeper know what the time is when a goal gets scored, because they generally don't have their own clock. Okay, so timeouts. Each team is allowed to call one timeout before the 17-minute mark. A timeout lasts for 1 minute from the time the head referee says timeout from now. Okay, so the head referee needs to see that, head referee needs to see that a team has requested a timeout. They'll run over to you, ask you what the time is, announce the time out loud, which team called it, and say 1 minute of time from this point. When they say that, start timing 1 minute. Okay? So at the end of their minute, probably count down from 10. It's always nice. The referee will direct people back to their brooms, and so you can remount more or less as soon as the minute's finished and to get play going again. Okay, so the timeout can only be requested by a team speaking captain or by the keeper who is currently on the field. And it can only be requested when that keeper has a quaffle and is a protected keeper. So that means they're in their own keeper zone and have immunity. I talked about protected keepers in last week's session, so if you want to learn about that, check it out, or I think it's section 7 in the rulebook. Make sure as a timekeeper that you do announce when the 17-minute mark has passed, because the team can be penalised if they try and call a timeout after 17 minutes. So the obvious indicator that 17 minutes has passed is that the snitch will be on the field. So snitch comes on at 17, seekers at 18. But please make sure you are saying 17 minutes to make it really clear that each team can't call a timeout. So calling an illegal timeout does give you a yellow card to the speaking captain, and a player can't substitute during a timeout, or that is also a yellow card to the player who does so. Arguably, yes, it probably should be a blue, but again, we can't change the rulebook except in cases where there's dumb contradictions. So we're going to be going with yellow cards, RIP, all other speaking captains, myself included. So if I had to guess why it's a yellow card, it's because of it's most cards that go to a speaking captain are yellow cards, so it might be that. And also the potential to really mess with the game by calling illegal timeouts. So for example, if you try and call an illegal timeout, you're probably going to get a bit of a break anyway, while the ref sorts out the fact that actually you called an illegal timeout. Therefore, the penalty for doing so is a yellow card because it's a bit more serious, and it's really to stop teams doing exactly that. So don't think you're clever because I told you how to cheat, because you're going to get carded for it. Cool. Okay. Just checking. Okay, so yeah, so technically the rulebook does say that the coach can call a timeout. However, the coach should not exist anywhere in the rulebook, and we're ignoring that. So even if you do have a non-playing coach, your speaking captain is the only one that can call a timeout, or the keeper on the field at that point in time. Okay. Cool. So yeah, we'll be putting in recommendations to have the rules changed maybe later. But again, for quaffle, that's what we're stuck with. Victorians. Yeah, a question from Emma here, just about Victoria played to different timing points in their Vic Cup. Refraining from commenting on that, but so you've got to have your timeout called before 17, and then the snitch comes on pitch. Sorry, the snitch on pitch at 17, and the seekers come on at 18. That's what we're doing. Alrighty, so snitch gets released at 17-minute mark. So timekeeper, you should be counting that down. Actually, it's not because of deals, as long as the snitch comes on the field at 17 minutes. As spectacularly as they possibly can without hurting themselves. Okay, and again, announce we're at 17 minutes so that they cannot get carded for illegal timeouts. I'm just going to watch this again because it's really cool. Perks of living with Dame L. So, seekers. Now, timekeepers should request seekers approach them at or before 17 minutes of game time. So by 17, they should really be with you. If it happens slightly after that, that's fine. There's no penalty for not sending a seeker to you. There's no penalty for not fielding a seeker. Alright, so if a team doesn't want to, for whatever reason, they don't have to. You only need 7 eligible players at the start of a match. So if during the game you had 7 people at the start and you met gender with that 7 people, then 2 of them get injured and you only have 5. You only need to have a keeper on the field at any point in time, and as long as you don't have more than 4 of one gender, you can play down as many people as you like. So you don't have to have a seeker. However, if you do have a seeker, your seeker needs to stay in the penalty box until the time they are released. So that's between the hard boundary and the soft boundary, that little space there. Same deal applies to any other substitute though. You need to get out of the way of play, and you can't enter the pitch, that is, cross the soft boundary, nice little oval shaped line, before the 18-minute mark. If you do, that's a blue card, and I think I have a slide coming up about that in a second. Yes. Yeah, there we go. Cool. So you as a timekeeper are really the only person who's going to notice that a seeker has entered the pitch early, so that makes it your responsibility to get the head referee's attention if that does happen. Okay? And I know timekeeping, you might not be the most assertive of people, and that's why you're not, for example, an assistant referee, which is fine, everyone's different. But if a seeker does false start, that's your responsibility to make sure the head referee knows so that they can be carded. Okay? The easiest way to do that is probably talk to the nearest AR and get them to talk to the head referee, rather than you run onto the pitch, particularly if you're not used to that. But please do not let that go unnoticed, because that's really important in terms of how the game's going to go and how the game's going to end. So make sure that you get someone's attention if they do false start. On that note, so ignoring the fact that Elle's sitting in the penalty area here, let's pretend that she's actually outside. She's going to count you down and then release our seekers. So importantly, having a running start is completely fine. The only penalty is if you cross our soft boundary before you've been released. On that note, I'm going to go same rules apply to the start line, so your body cannot be over the line. If your broom is, fine. Yeah, that's fine. Cool. Okay. Let's put numbers and points and slides on this. Let's do quiz number 2 now, actually, before we do Snitch Handicaps, just because I've been talking for a while. So let me just launch quiz number 2 here. Alright, quiz 2 is now active. Do quiz 2. And then we will jump back to this in a second. Nope. This one. Aha. More cat photos. Yay. Alright, go to Scorekeeping, do quiz 2. And then we'll be back after that. Oh. Okay, apologies. Apparently my internet fucked up. Oh, I'm on like super slow. That's not good. I don't know why. Go to Socrative is just where we're at the moment. Why is it so bad today? Alright. Sorry, my internet's being dumb. We'll go to Socrative. Do quiz 2. La-di-da-ba-ba. Ba-la-ba-ba-da-ba. Ba-da-da. Okay, again, sorry for dropping out. Why is this doing this? Yeah, alright, weird. Hopefully it's recorded me anyway, and if you did miss a section, we can watch it back later. But go to Socrative, do quiz 2. Do. Ha! Okay, so I forgot that I had set some of the shortcuts to be letters, so if I type in the chat, it unmutes me. Not that that's a big deal. So the question was, what do we think about beaters who come off pitch to beat seekers ready for when they're released? So a beater is allowed to carry a ball off the soft boundary to take the... A beater is allowed to carry a ball off the soft boundary if they are in pursuit of someone eligible to be beat. So, a seeker who hasn't been released yet has not been beat. What did I do wrong? Okay, sorry. I'll check that. I'll check that later, Harry. Sorry, lost my train of thought. Okay. Beater is allowed to carry a ball off pitch to beat someone who's eligible to be beat. However, seekers aren't eligible to be beat, so they're not allowed to do that. If you're standing just inside the soft boundary to wait for them to be released, that's fine. There's nothing against that. Like, if you're standing there, there's nothing to stop you standing... Whoa, sorry, my thought was there if a beater can pick a seeker, and the answer is no. But if you're standing there trying to beat them, and they're running at you, arguably they're trying to charge you, so there's a card there. But I wouldn't call that, particularly if you just beat them. So seekers need to get around you, but at the same time you shouldn't be trying to pick them. Strange. What? Okay, do I have a wrong answer? No, that is definitely the correct answer. Okay, so right, so the only reason you were dismounted after a... Oh, well, I haven't got there yet. If everyone finish the quiz, then I'll keep talking. Because, yeah, otherwise people get distracted. Alright. Again, sorry, we're cutting in and out apparently. I guess I'm just have to keep going and hope that it gets better. Okay, alright, we're going to go back to the rest of the video now. So, for everyone who's asking about the question in the quiz, so yes, if you stay on pitch because you commit a foul and you get a card, but you're not sent to the penalty box, you are not dismounted. Okay? So, the only reason you are required to dismount is because you are sent to the penalty box. If that never happens, you don't need to dismount. Alright, so you can start play again from wherever you are when play was stopped, and that's fine. Okay, the exception to that is if you, well it's not actually an exception, it's exactly the rule. If one of your teammates is released from the box and you need to go to the box, then you're in the box, and the person who gets released is obviously dismounted when they come out of the box, right? But you were dismounted by virtue of being in the box and not by virtue of receiving the card. Okay, if you happen to have been sent back to hoops before that, because they were playing advantage, then you are still dismounted unless you have completed the knockout procedure. But you never get dismounted twice, if that makes sense. Okay, alright, so let's jump back to the PowerPoint. Cool, alrighty. Snitch Handicaps. Alright, so important things. Again, measured in game time. So you always need to be aware of what the game time is, and that needs to be the time that you're going off for things, funnily enough. And they're cumulative. So what that means is the first handicap comes into effect, then the next handicap applies on top of it, then the third handicap applies on top of that. Okay, so just because you're on the second handicap doesn't mean you get to avoid the first one. Which makes more sense when I introduce what they are. So, from the moment the snitch is on pitch, you need to stay between the keeper zone lines. Okay? You can't be running around behind hoops. However, if you do, and if you do it repeatedly, that is grounds to replace the snitch runner. If you're intentionally disobeying the snitch handicaps or the directives of the referee to not do anything stupid. So, from the 23-minute mark, they need to stay within 1 meter either side of the midline. Okay, so how is that going to be communicated? So you as a timekeeper need to be aware of what the handicaps are. You also need to be aware of what the time is. You need to communicate that to the snitch, probably via the referee. Let them know if they're over your side of the pitch. Be like, hey, you got about 30 seconds. And then once it hits 23 minutes, scream out that you're at 23 minutes. Okay. From 28 minutes, the snitch is required to use only one arm. So you can switch arms if you want. Try and keep the second arm out of the way as much as you can. Put it behind your back if you're okay with that. As snitch. And from 33 minutes, you need to stay within 1 meter of this point here. So it's still 1 meter either side of the midline, and within 1 meter of the intersection point of that midline with the pitch boundary. Alright, so you're still within the hard boundary, which is our rectangle here, but you've got to stay within 1 meter of that point. And notice that that point is on the opposite side to the penalty box and the team bench and where the scorekeepers are. Alright, so that's one of the reasons why it's important to have everybody on the same side. The reason we picked this point and not that point is because there's people usually in this penalty box, and it just keeps people away from that. So snitch from 33 needs to stay at this point, more or less, with one arm, and the other ones all apply still as well. Okay. I'm so sad we're dropping out. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. No one else in my house is using internet. I don't get it. Nah, it worked fine for 2 weeks. Anyway, I'm going to keep going. Okay, so in summary, these are your time points. So, at 17, release a snitch runner onto the pitch. The snitch has to stay between those lines. Call for the seekers and announce at 17 minutes. At 18 minutes, release the seekers onto the pitch. 23, 28, and 33, we have these 3 snitch handicaps. Lovely. Okay, penalty box. So, if someone receives a blue card, they need to spend 1 minute in the box or until their team is scored on. Players can receive multiple blue cards without them stacking. So what that means is if you get a blue card and then you get another blue card and then you get another blue card, nothing else is going to happen to you. You can just keep racking up blue cards as much as you like. Some rules do, or actually, I was going to say that some rules have clauses which can elevate a blue to a yellow. I'm not actually sure there are any of those anymore because they're always separate fouls. Ignoring a referee directive. So there's a clause that says if you ignore something that wouldn't have been a card, you can get a card for that. For example, if you're getting sent back to hoops and don't do that, you can be sent back. You can be given a yellow card. But that's a different rule. But generally, blue cards don't stack on each other to anything else. They just are more blue cards. For a yellow card, you need to spend 1 minute in the box or until your team gets scored on. However, if you receive 2 yellow cards, you receive an automatic red card. If you get a red card, you are ejected from the match. You have to leave the player area and you need to be escorted away from the field of play. So we'll probably set up a quaffle. We'll indicate where a player needs to be depending on the field setup. If we're the same fields as last year, which I think we are, it'll probably be something like you need to be moved outside of the fence because you need to be away from that match. Substitute for, so someone else gets sent to the penalty area to serve your time. They need to spend a full 2 minutes in that penalty box. You don't get released early for a score in that situation. Okay, now if you are given a red card and you don't leave the pitch, your team has to do everything they can to get you off field. If you still refuse to leave the pitch, that's grounds for your team to get a forfeit because you're being a danger to everybody else who's still there. That's all I want to say about that. Okay, so as for penalty time, so again, this is a timekeeping session, so this is important stuff you need to be aware of. Generally, if you get 2 fouls on the same play, you get 1 card and you serve the time for 1 penalty. That's it. Okay, so even if you contact someone high and from behind, you get 1 yellow card and sent to the penalty box and serve your 1 minute. Okay, if you're already in the cart box for a blue card and you get another blue or a yellow card, you get a 2nd minute added onto your existing time. So if you're in the box for a yellow card and as you go there, you kind of swear it to yourself under your breath, you're probably going to get a blue card out of that, at which point your minute, another minute will be added onto your existing time. If you're already in the box for a yellow card and you get a blue card, oh, that's exactly what I just said. It's different if you're in the box for a yellow card and you get another yellow card, because that means you're given a red card. Then you get ejected from the match and your replacement has to serve the whole 2 minutes. However, any time you had remaining on your first yellow card, we waive. So even if you were only in the box for your first yellow for 10 seconds, that extra 50 seconds we get rid of and you just have someone else serve your time for 2 minutes, a whole 2 minutes. Okay, this I've never seen happen ever, right? But say I get carded and Luke is serving my penalty time, sorry, red carded. So I'm being ejected from the field, Luke my time. Now, if Luke gets a card for Luke, he needs to spend another whole minute in the box and someone else on the field needs to come and serve the rest of my time. Does that make sense? So if you get carded for you, you need to serve your own penalty time and the whole penalty time. However, if you are serving that time for someone else, then their time also needs to be served, right? But it's only for the time you had remaining. Again, never seen that happen, but it might, so it's kind of important to know. In general, do what makes sense. If you forget exactly what the rules are, study harder, but also do what makes sense. Yeah. And always check with your head referee because they should also know. Alright, a couple of other things. So if I get red carded and someone else of a different gender serves my time, then I still count for the purposes of the maximum rule. However, I'd be very careful with the team doing that, because as soon as I'm released, then you're liable to be infringed. You're liable to have broken the rule if you don't fix it up. Okay, so person who is serving, the person who was carded counts as in play for the gender rule. That's the point of that. When you are released from the penalty box, you are dismounted and you have to follow the knockout procedure. So timekeepers, I'd recommend just remind them you're dismounted when you send them off on their merry way. If a substitute gets sent to the penalty area, someone on field needs to leave the field, and the person who gets carded goes and serves that time. So that also applies to the speaking captain. If the speaking captain is a playing captain, if they're a sub at the time, they get sent to the box and someone on the field has to come off. If it is a non-playing speaking captain, there's a slight difference in that. So someone still needs to come off the field. You serve a minute in the box, and I think they just stand next to you as well, and they can go back into play. You always need a keeper in play, so if you happen to have everyone on your field at once carded, you're going to forfeit. If your keeper gets carded, we see this all the time, any player actually can swap with them. Doesn't have to be the closest one, you get to choose. If all of your chasers are carded, then a beater or a seeker can become a keeper, because you always need a keeper in play. Again, if everyone gets carded, that's grounds for a forfeit. Okay, I'm just going to check into the chat. Whoa. Yep, sorry. Things been cutting out. I feel really bad. Any actual questions in here? Okay. Oh, no, I don't want to do that. I'm going to break it. Ah, come back. Okay. Alrighty. Overtime. So, in overtime, first things first, Snitch Handicaps are removed, but you still need to stay between the keeper's own lines, because that's not really a handicap, it's just a rule. Okay, team switch ends. You're also going to be given 3 minutes of break. Snitch catch counts as a single score for a penalty box release. So if you've got someone in the box, if you've got 2 people in the box at the end of regulation time, and the other team catches the snitch, then one of your people will be released, but not the other one. Right, so it'll be the one with the least amount of time remaining, or the person who's not on a red card. Yeah, okay. So in first overtime, the Seeker floor is 30 seconds. Seekers should start over with the Timekeeper, just because that's easier. Then they get released. The clock resets, so start timing from 0 again, and we just count up. Then first overtime ends when the snitch gets caught, or at the end of 5 minutes. So, if the score is tied at the end of either of those points, then we go to sudden death overtime. If the score is not tied, the team with the most points wins, funnily enough. Okay, so if the score is 50 to 60 and the team on 50 catches a snitch, they go to 80, 60 and they win. Okay. If the score is 30, 60 and the team on 30 catches, the score goes to 60 all and we go to double overtime. Okay. At the end of 5 minutes, if we have a tie, we also go to a double overtime. And if at the end of 5 minutes one team is up on points, the snitch wins and the team with the most points wins also. Okay, so I'm going to feel like this is not going to work, but that's fine. So in overtime,
1 minute.
Your job as the seeker is, sorry, as a timekeeper. I wonder if the volume's working. Oh, I have my headphones, that's fine. You need to announce the time as it passes. So the rulebook actually, after I checked, it does say you should count down, so it should be
10,
like 4 minutes, 3
9,
minutes, 2 minutes.
7, 6.
That's annoying, I'm going to stop you all. However, if you count up, I also don't care. As long as it's clear what you're doing and you don't swap halfway through, that's fine. So start with count out each minute as it passes. You need to count, say when there are 30 seconds remaining, say when there are 15 seconds remaining, and then count out loud from 10 seconds down to 1. As we see here.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It's over!
Although hopefully no one invades with a Nerf gun onto your field, because that would be bad. Cool. Now, the other thing you've got to do in overtime is, if the head referee raises their arm indicating an advantage play, you need to stop time. So the reason for that is that teams could potentially fail to run out the clock. That's not allowed. So if the referee's got their arm up indicating that there will be an advantage, you need to stop time until such a point where they lower their hands. Usually they will stop play to resolve that, after which you resume timing as normal. Okay, if we go to sudden death overtime or second overtime, teams don't switch ends. You don't get a break. Again, snitch catch counts as a single score. There's no seeker floor. The snitch starts on the midline, and the seekers start at the start lines as normal. So the snitch can move off the midline as soon as we have started again, but they need to start on the midline. And then the first team who scores either by goal or snitch catch wins. Okay, that's it. You got one chance. Score by any means necessary, at which point your team will win. Okay, we have questions now. Alrighty. Things, nothing. Alright, I've turned the quiz off. Quiz off. We seem to be working now, which is good. But I will launch the... Actually, no, I won't do that. Not yet. Okay. So, scorekeeping. So, a couple of slides left, then you can go. Hopefully this is all recorded. If not, I'll do a video recording of just me talking and upload that so it's all there. So, scorekeeping. Your job is to keep track of the score, funnily enough. Keep track of cards on the score sheet. I forgot about that one when I made the slides. And you also need to update any visible scoreboard. So there should be a scoreboard at each pitch. You need to update that, and this is why I suggest having at least 3 people, one to do the timing, one to do the scoring, and one to do the actual scoreboard. Okay, so hopefully this isn't too blurry, and you can see it. This is what the score sheet's going to look like for Quaffle. Sorry, Nationals, with a new logo, probably. Now, depending on how we run the tournament, which is going to depend on how many teams are coming, you may get a score sheet that doesn't have any names on it. In which case, sorry, but you need to then go find each team beforehand and have everyone written down on the score sheet. Okay, so the easiest way to do that would just be to either find someone who's not playing and get them to point out everybody, or have them all line up in the middle of the field, walk past and write down their numbers and their names. That's also probably easy. However, if we do score sheets in advance, you'll have them all printed here for you. The reason they wouldn't be in advance is if we were doing a Swiss format, which again depends on how many teams we get. But this is what the score sheet looks like. Okay, so in a normal match, right, write in what the time is, write in what the names of the teams are. Write down the number of each player as they score and the time they score. So time's really important because it's easier if you've got a dispute later to kind of have an idea of when goals happened and that sort of thing. That does require you paying attention and your head ref paying attention to the score. At the end of the match, write down who caught the snitch at the bottom here and the time at which that happened. And then fill out our boxy things up the top here. So just put down what the total score is, including the snitch. So our star indicates that they caught the snitch in that period of time. Okay, and we'll get to the other notations in a second. As for cards, you just need to write down what colour they were. Doesn't matter so much what they were for. Really, it's just what colour they are. And write down the time of each card. So that's really important because you can then time for a minute from that point in time. You don't need to keep a separate minute. Jimmy here. Jimmy the Hand is, of course, got himself a yellow card before time started. You can do that. I was having this conversation with someone the other day about from what point in time you can card someone. I normally say from the time, the referee has the power to do so from the time they're on the field. If you're on the field, there's a good chance that the teams are there ready. If you hear someone sledging someone off pitch, but it's the teams and their team is reasonably on field, that's grounds for a card. Okay? They can be carded. They start the match in the penalty box. So that's perfectly fine. Okay, Zeta down here managed to get 2 yellows and then a red. We just need to record the times for that. And that's all I want to point out on here. Try and get the signatures after the match. You as scorekeeper, that's really your job, I guess. Yeah. Okay, if we go to overtime, first thing, draw a line underneath where the score was at the end of overtime. That's going to help you keep track of time, but also it's just important to make sure we have recorded the times right and we can count. Still record the snitch from the first overtime, and again we still got that star there. Then in this case we've got Feist having scored an extra 3 goals, so that goes their score up to here. Then write that again just to make it clear. If we go to sudden death, alright, so in this case we had Eddings catching the second snitch. So the notation for a second snitch is an upwards arrow. Incidentally, a notation for a notation for a sudden death overtime snitch is an exclamation mark. Probably doesn't happen very often, but that's what it is if it does happen. Fill out what the score was at the end of overtime. So they'd scored 3 goals and then they had no goals but caught the second snitch. Then finally we had a win on this side with just the final score being 100 to 90. If we're writing out in full, you could put 100 in brackets, 100 then in brackets 90, then in brackets 60, to 90 in brackets 90 with an arrow to 60 with a star. Just fill out the table. That's really all you need. So the only way the score sheet may change is if we add a field for MVP here, but again that's still up for discussion how MVP will be awarded, so that's not there yet. You'll also have in your folder or clipboard at each field a list of the timings and Snitch Handicaps, so that's all going to be there for you. So hopefully you don't have any issues with that. Okay. Alright, just coming back to questions. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, so, yeah, I think we've answered the question. So the question was if there are multiple people in the penalty box when the snitch is caught. So, one person gets released from the box if the other team caught the snitch. Okay, so let's say Serpent's playing UCID. UCID catches a snitch, but Serpent's had 2 people in the box. The person with the least amount of penalty time left will be released, unless they are a red card, in which case they need to serve out the full 2 minutes, and in which case the other person will get released. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. Okay, if the game is, that's only if the game is not going to overtime though. So, sorry, if the game is going to overtime. If the match ends and there's someone still in the penalty box, that's just the end. Okay, so nothing happens. Otherwise, it's really just those release situations if we're going to overtime. There may be regulations around multiple red cards across the tournament. Like we might enforce something to do with being suspended for further matches. But that's not your job as a timekeeper. You don't have to worry too much about that. Okay. I think that's the end. Yay, we're at the end. Okay, so let me just launch quiz 3. Quiz 3 is just an exit quiz. You don't have to do anything too strenuous. So, thank you very much to my models. I was going to talk about dislodging hoops in this one, but I decided not to. Quidditch hoops are difficult things. But sometimes stand up remarkably well. So yes, thank you Ellen Damer for being my models, and also Bidey for being a model. Quiz is now done. 7 hours now down. I'm so sorry about all the technical issues. Go to Socrative and complete the end quiz. Then you can leave. Thank you for coming. And hopefully the video did record properly, and if it didn't, I will just do a podcast of all this again and upload that. Cool. If you have any other questions, hit me up. I'll be here for a while just to check there's no more questions. Otherwise you can go. Thank you all. Okay, we had a question about what you write on the scoreboard if they receive 2 yellow cards. So if you get 2 yellow cards, you should write yellow, yellow, and then red. Okay, so probably put that red. I'd put that red in like a bracket or something just to make it clear that it was 2 yellows. But I'd put the red on the score sheet as well. So put Y, and then an R in brackets to indicate they've received a red card from having 2 yellows. That could be important if they do get a red card for like a straight red card at the end, which could happen, especially if you abuse a referee vociferously after receiving your 2nd yellow card. So you might, get 2 red cards, possibly. If that happens, I would probably only make someone serve 2 minutes. I wouldn't make them do all 4. That would be dumb. But I don't know if that's ever happened. Alright, another question. So, penalties in the box from overtime carry to penalties in 2nd overtime? Yes, they do. So if you're in the box at the end of 1st overtime and your team, then you start in the box at the start of the next period. Same deal goes. So if there was a goal, a person gets released. If there was a snitch catched, a person will get released. Only one person. It's not the snitch is worth 3, so 3 people get released. Yeah. Oh, we are on a much bigger delay this week than other weeks. Presumably that's because the stream was being stupid. Yeah, sorry if that's being really disjointed. I didn't introduce my cats this week. So this is Louise. She's the other cat. My brother wanted to name the cat Lucifer and got told that Lucifer was a boy's name and he had to name Louise. He had to name the girl cat a girl's name. Issues around that aside. However, so we went from Lucifer to Lou to Louise. So this is Louise the cat, also known as Lulu. Apparently sitting on my head. Cool beans. Again, I'm so sorry with the internet. It's worked fine the last 2 weeks with 0 problems. Yeah. Cool. I'll still be here. Guys, shoot me any questions if you have. Alright, it looks like we're all good. So, as always, shoot me a message on Facebook if you have any other questions. And I will hopefully see you not as badly next week. Bye!